Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Journey Within. I am your host, Andrea Escobar, spiritual guide and intuitive. Each week, we have the immense pleasure of chatting with different healers, storytellers, and vision holders as they walk us through their own journey within and how they were able to transform their dark night of the soul experience into their passion. Today's guest, I'm a little biased. She's one of my really close friends, but it's someone that really, really inspires me on the day-to-day. She has literally created, not just her passion, but the life that mirrors her authentic self. And I feel like with everything kind of going on right now, that is not something that you see often. And I'm so excited because Rome, her dog, is joining us on the call.
Yay.
So we have the lovely Lynnea Tai, founder of DarcMoon, with us today. And yes, all of the malas that you see on my Instagram are hers. I don't know how to do any malas. Not creative in that aspect. But my girl here is. So I know that you are an Aries, as you know, and everyone else that's joining in know that I love to astrologically profile everyone. So you're an Aries, Capricorn moon. I'm like blanking on your chart right now.
And then Aries,
rising.
double Aries.
How is it? So she's double Aries, Capricorn moon. When I tell you she is the most Aries person in the world, literally, I always have to tell my, can you please think before you say something, because it's literally going to happen. And she'll say it, and then 5 minutes later, I'm like, seriously, why? Why did you say that? So, you need guidance on being an Aries, she is your girl. So before we dive into DarcMoon, what kind of led all of that, I want you to take us back to your upbringing. Because you have a really interesting upbringing. Your dad is Asian and your mom is Scottish. So that's such an interesting combination. And I know that both of the cultural differences definitely played a role in your life and your sisters, but we're talking about you today.
Yay. Okay, thanks for having me. And by the way, you are creative in that way. You just haven't, I don't think you ever tried making a mala yet. So we have to try.
Something to do.
So my upbringing, I guess how my dad is from Hong Kong and he moved here when he was 14 and my mom was born in Montreal. So they met in Colorado. That is, I think having a foreign parent has definitely shaped my life a lot. Also just having parents like our parents who sacrifice everything so we can do what we do now. But sorry, I got the jingle and the scratch. But yeah, like how they sacrificed everything, which many of our parents did and people do for us. But my lifestyle is definitely a lot different than anything that they've ever imagined for me or wanted for me, but they definitely support me now.
No, and I'll kind of dive deeper in. I'm going to say this right now. I am so happy that you're joining us. Lynnea is not one to do this, so I'm like so excited that she's taking the time to do this. This side of her is not something that she's more of behind the scenes type of person. But the reason I was asking you about your upbringing is I know that you don't consider yourself the black sheep of the family. What is it that you say? You're the sparkling sheep?
Rainbow sheep.
You're the rainbow sheep. That's what you've always said, yeah. So you've always said you're the rainbow sheep, which is what people call the black sheep, but you are very different from your family. So you guys get an idea, her sister's a Capricorn, ultra Capricorn. She's in finances, like doing her thing. Her mom and her dad are very old school in their way of thinking. And I don't know if you guys can tell by what she's wearing, but like this is an outfit she would wear for going hiking. And I love it because that's her. So like that gives you some context that she's literally the rainbow sheep in a very I don't want to say conservative, but like it can, yeah, they are kind of more narrow thinkers while you think very outside the lines.
Yes.
How was that growing up? Because I'm sure that you wanting to be this like sparkly little girl probably wasn't what they were thinking, especially with your sister being a little bit more grounded in that aspect.
Yeah, I think growing up it was hard because it took me a long time to figure out what I even liked, because I think like your whole life and like even in like high school, and maybe if people aren't asking you what do you want to do, it's just like choose one of these ones, but it's like I don't really like want to do any of those ones, you know. It's like I think it was hard. Like I feel like I've always known I was creative, but it's so much in like my family and in society, like you need to be good at something. So it's like I never felt like, yeah, I like to make stuff, but I'm not good at anything in particular. So like it took me a long time to even like feel like I had an identity, probably like till I left for college. Actually, probably when I first started like finding out I loved fashion and those things, that started helping. But really like the first time I traveled to Europe, and someone, instead of saying like, what do you do? What's your major? What are you like? Blah, blah, blah. Someone just said like, what do you like to do? And I was just like, oh my God, I have no idea. Like, I don't even know how to answer that question. So it definitely took a long time for me to get where I am now. And I'm only 28, so maybe it's not that long, but you know, that also, I think that's an accomplishment to be here. So, yeah, I think it definitely made it a little harder to figure out how to express myself. I always just felt like I'm not good at anything. Like I don't really fit in like to anywhere kind of way.
That's so, and I say interesting because we met when we were working for HelloFresh, and I don't know if you guys can see the glitter under her eyes right now. Everyone knew her as the girl with the glitter. And anytime, and even after she was no longer working with us, anytime that anybody talked about her, they were just, yeah, the girl that with the glitter. And they talked about her in such a beautiful way. I always thought that you were more comfortable in your own skin. And it wasn't until we started talking that I was like, oh man, you're in this like same journey as everyone else, trying to figure out who they were. So it's interesting how sometimes we can't even see who we are, but other people can truly see the magic in us. I want to talk about your trip to Europe because I think that was really, really, really interesting. So you're in college and you went to school for fashion design. Right?
Yeah, I double majored in apparel merchandising, which is the business side of fashion, and then I also have a marketing degree.
Okay, so killing it with that. What was your plan right after college?
My best friend and I were gonna move to California, so we had saved like a bunch of money, and that was the next step.
And then what happened that you guys decided to ditch that and go to Europe?
Yeah, and I think that was a really pivotal moment of my life because, like, you know, it's like, all right, college, now you get the job, what's next? But so what happened after that is we realized, okay, maybe like a couple $1,000s isn't enough to start a new life in a new state. So I mean, maybe it could have been, but it wasn't really that, especially for California, to live there.
Yeah, definitely.
So we just decided like, well, we've never even thought about traveling. Like, what if we just took all that money and we decided to backpack Europe? And so my best friend and I bought one-way tickets to Europe, which, you know, this is also why I probably give my parents heart attacks, but I did not tell them until we were at the airport saying goodbye that I only had a one-way ticket. And then, yeah.
Oh, man. When I heard that, I was just like, oh God, now I know why your parents are always freaking out every time you have a new idea. They're like, what is she doing now?
I'm like, what? I don't get it.
So you went, and because this is also, I confuse your journey. I'm like, now I'm like confused a little bit. You went to Europe. Did your sister give you the mala right before you went to Europe? Or was
Yep,
that what, okay.
that was, or no, my sister gave me them all before Asia.
Okay, so
So when I went to Europe, we backpacked. I came home and saved for 7 months, and then I went to Asia.
So you were planning on going with Emily.
Yep.
Well, talk about that, because for me, that's such, you went traveling solo to Asia by yourself, had never done anything like that, like had no idea. And I feel like people that know you would be like, that's not really surprising. Lynnea does that all the time. But at the same time, it's also like, damn, dude, that's really ballsy. Like, you're just taking off to an unknown continent.
Yeah.
How was that? Talk to us about that. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so that, I think like the Europe experience, like I said, like it was like I needed that with a friend to be able to do the solo backpacking trip, because we basically messed up everything. That's the way you learn when you travel. And like, that's to me the most beautiful thing about traveling is you have no one there, that you don't have your mom or a friend, or you don't know anybody. So like you're gonna have to figure it out. Everything's gonna be okay one way or the other, like, you know. But so we met, like, then I decided that I was gonna go to Asia, and I had also, you know, figured out how to stay in hostels. Emily and I did all that stuff together. So yeah, I had a coworker who was from Indonesia at the time. I worked at the sushi restaurant. That's how I saved money, and that's how I paid for things during college, and then worked after. And I decided it was more important. When I came home from Europe, I didn't even want to tell anyone I came home, because I still really wanted to travel, but I just didn't have the funds to keep doing it. So I decided, like, I don't need to have a career at this moment. Like, this is more important to me to do this. So I had a coworker, like I said, who was from Indonesia. He told me I should check it out. So I bought a ticket.
And went to Indonesia. Your sister gave you the mala right before your trip, though, right?
Yep, she did. She gave it to me, and she gave me my first mala, and then I wore that, which I actually have the beads from right over there. And then I wore that throughout the entire trip I was in Asia. Okay. And I had also gone there with, like, doing research. I knew I wanted to, I actually did know I wanted to do a jewelry company and not a clothing design company, because you know me, but I'm very conscious of waste and things like that, and how things are sourced, everything to those. So, and that's also a huge part of what my degree was about. But so yeah, I knew I was gonna do a jewelry company. I had no clue what it was gonna be. So like you said, I'm great at manifesting, and here we are.
I mean, it wasn't just like snap, here we are. No. And I say that more just because and that was one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. We see someone where they're at, and we don't realize that there was a lot that took them there. And I'm going to just give you guys a little bit of a context. I'm jumping way ahead in the story. But when I met her, I was like, oh my God, someone else that is working on something else at the same time while they're working here. And I'm like, hey, how long do you think you're going to work here? Like 2 years. She didn't even make it a year. So I'm saying this because a lot of the times we are our own limitations, and we don't realize what we're capable of. But I recently, and this was us talking last year, I didn't know of all those setbacks that you had before. Like when you were traveling and everything got stolen out of the car, like all of these things that happened. And a lot of people they think, oh man, this is a sign that I should just stop. You didn't. And not only did you didn't, but again, going back to, not that your parents are not supportive, but this is so different from what they can know. And again, I feel like all of our parents want us to, be happy and find success in our own way. But I feel like when you do have that immigrant parents, it's almost like, I don't want you to struggle like I do. So I want you to have the easier route, but they're not often thinking just because it's easier and safer and, this is the path I think it's the best, it's not necessarily what's going to resonate for you. So you got back from Asia. Were you already kind of inspired with, okay, I want to start that? Or what popped it in? Because I know that you've been inspired by different people in your travels.
Yeah. So I came home. I didn't even like I said, I literally wore them on every single day on the trip. I didn't really think about it much, and then also in places in Asia where I was exposed to lots of Hinduism and Buddhism, which is where mullahs originate from. But I came home. It's kind of back to the manifesting thing. I looked up a jewelry making class. One of the first class I found was a mala making class. I went. I was the only person there. The lady was literally like, "Wow, you're good at this. You should make more." And like, to me, I was like, kind of like I'd said before, I don't really feel like I was ever like good at anything or things that I liked. Like, I never fell in love with something like that. So then maybe the next week I met a supplier who's the same person I still get my beads from 4.5 years later. And then I actually went back to my original teacher, and then like my supplier taught me a better way to make it stronger. So then I went back to the other lady and I taught her how to make it stronger. And then here we are. Not here we are, but yeah, that is how, and for me, it was like the right thing too. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm kind of good at this. It's like when I was a kid, like when the gem and like the rock show would come every year, like I would save all my money and like buy my whole family gifts, and they're all like, what the fuck? Like, we don't like, all right, another rock thing, like, thanks a lot. Like I've always loved stones. I've always loved the meanings. I've always like and it maybe took me a long time to know this, like to say this now, but it's like I truly feel like my purpose is to help people, but like I wanted to do it in my own way. And this is like a piece of jewelry that has so much more like of a meaning and a connection than just like something you grab and like wear for a week and lose one and forget or something. Like, not that that doesn't have its place too, but like I'm getting close to making over 8,000 pieces. I could tell you every single piece I've probably ever made and every person it's gone to. So that's like my connection to it. So yeah.
I kind of felt your energy when you said that connection to it. I was like, kind of felt like you were hugging me, and I'm like, oh man, she is connected to everything.
Yeah.
So, you know what I kind of I'm noticing now that I'm not talking to you but listening. It's almost like you were literally being guided to that.
Yeah.
Because
I
everything
feel
just kind of like just dropped in.
and it's like, of course it was me breaking the molds of being like, hey, I'm doing this and it's like, it's not like I was like all the jobs I had, I was like a great employee at all of them. Like I was like, I think like in my view, like one of the best employees. It's not like I wasn't like good at doing those, but it was like I had to decide like I am good. I am doing what everyone is telling me should make me happy, and I have it, and I have zero happiness like doing that, like I had to every time break the mold to figure out something new that would help guide me all to where I am now.
For sure. I'm guessing there's also a lot of listening to the unknown, because they're all little, like these little nuggets of, okay, do this, do this. But if you're not ready to listen to that voice, then you're just going to continue on with your life doing the same thing. Do you feel like because you were able to step out of that mold and of what I'm supposed to do and more of just like, fuck it, I'm going to do what I want to do, then you were able to listen to that inner voice a little bit more?
Yeah, and I feel like like also like remembering that nothing in your life is a coincidence, like is made, like I met this woman and she gave Linda love. She told me, you know, if you stop listening to your soul, it will stop talking to you. And that's what's happened to most people in the world. I think I was on a solo camping road trip in New Mexico. I was like 25 when I met her. Um, like, you know, things like that have all, yeah, changed everything.
I do feel like you are, I mean, I don't want to point it out like she is. We have a connection and I know more so I can say this, but I think everyone has this. We all have guides. We just need to be open to them. And I'm using you as kind of the example because dude, you got back from Costa Rica and you were like, this lady, it's like anytime you go somewhere, you're like someone. And I'm like, you just find people everywhere you go. Like you're just like pulling people out of nowhere. It's awesome. Um, so you started doing them. I know that at first so you did start this with Emily. It was just stickers. The stickers are the
The
part.
name DarcMoon.
Yeah, the
Yes.
DarcMoon. So do you want to talk about the name, where the name came from?
Yes. I
and
love I love where it came from. So we were traveling around Europe, Emily and I, which is my best friend and one of my best friends.
I keep talking about Emily and nobody knows who
Yes.
Emily is. I'm like, Emily.
um and we were in Italy and we started, or it was actually in Berlin. I know we went to look at all this street art that people told us is like all over in this like one new Heimat place of Berlin, and we saw this like huge, I have the picture downstairs, it was like a one-up graffiti tag. And then I'm someone who I am very inspired by street art. I'm very inspired by people doing things that are different, that are like small, that are intentional, that are made to make you look and think and things like that. So I've always been, you know, someone who's looking at street art tags. Have I seen this before? Is this common? Whatever. So we were in Germany, and then we get to, I think the next place was in Italy. I see another one-up sticker or like street art sign. I'm like, what the heck? Then we're in Spain, we see another one, and then in Portugal, we're finally like, all right, we're gonna go on more trips, and we're just gonna make a tag, and we're gonna take over the world, and we're gonna travel everywhere. And that's when I truly like, I think my soul, like, you know, I don't know, like how like my authentic code is part of like adventure and like traveling and doing new things. And so like after that, her and I we started doing graffiti and street arts and tags and stickers. And one of my favorite stories is a guy that I had met in Spain. We connected on Facebook, and then I came home. DarcMoon was just like, the name was like a figment of our imagination. And then I had gone to Thailand. I'd gone to Asia. I was in a super rural Asia in northern Thailand, actually going trekking. I was literally riding an 8-person bus with a monk, and we were going to northern Thailand. I was writing on like "Hello, my name is" tags. I was drawing all sorts of DarcMoon all over them. I put one in a rest stop there. This guy, 8 months later or something, he goes to Thailand and he found like one of the tags there. So that's one of my favorite stories, as among many other, because now people have obviously found many of the tags, but that's what I love about the name. And that's why tagging and spreading DarcMoon and is super important to me, as is a jewelry. And like this is all ties back to like when I'm gone or when I'm not somewhere, like I always want to like still be remembered. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, you will. You are. I'm like, you will, you are. Oh man. I don't think I had heard that. Now that
That
I'm
was
thinking
a
about
long
it.
version.
I'm like, I don't think I've heard. I think I heard like a very smaller, shorter version of that one. That's so awesome though. From there, so you've been tagging, you're starting, like you took the mala class, you started to do malas. When did you start actually hosting workshops and start kind of going into that direction?
Yep.
Or because I'm gonna jump into when I met you, because I know that's like a big part, but kind of
Yeah.
getting up to that.
So yeah, I would say I made my first mala maybe like at this point, probably like almost like 5 years ago. I know now I'm feeling I'm starting to get old. Maybe like 5 years ago. And then I I like always like to reiterate is like you don't need to have a huge grand scheme or grand plan or millions of dollars to start something. I traded someone for bracelets to make my website, and then and that's when I barely had a lot of money to like be buying all this stuff, but like it was perfect, and it was like the perfect exchange of energy, and like things kind of all were coming together. And then I was working at the meditation studio, which I was definitely a huge part of, that shaped my career. My mom's friend opened a meditation studio, and so I was the assistant manager and helping her open the studio. So that's where that truly has definitely changed my life a lot. That's where I met tons of healers. That's where I was open to the different meditation teachers, chanting, Reiki, shamanism, journeys, clairvoyant readings, all sorts of things. Past lives, like it was all things that like you said, all the pieces kind of fell together. So then that was where I had the first opportunity to host my first mala making workshop. That was maybe maybe almost 3 years ago. So like 2 years into my career is when I started teaching people. And like a good example, my parents were like, "Wow, could you start teaching people? If you teach people, they're gonna steal your business." And it's like, so I started there, and as you know, since then, I've, especially during COVID, taught well over 1,000 people since then how to make malas.
That was actually something I wanted to talk to you about. You've heard a lot of people tell you what you should and shouldn't do. And okay, I have seen this girl literally like pull out of her ass. Like, I'm just like, she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then like randomly she pulls something. I'm like, the hell, how did you do that? Like, and I say this not to give her, like, I'm not saying this because she's my friend or anything. I truly say this because I remember when you left your full-time job and there was this moment where you're just like literally grasping and trying to do things. And I kept thinking, holy shit, so many people would have literally stopped. Like so many people, and I include myself in that, would have just given up because you were like knocked down so much. And now that you're mentioning this, you had a lot of people telling you not to teach, not to do this, not to do that, not to have mala kits when COVID happened, like all of this. How do you stay true to yourself when you literally have so much noise around you and you do have that kind of underlying core wound of, I'm not good at anything? So there could be that, well, I don't know, they should know more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that has definitely been hard. Like I think it's more about, like you said, like just like I found what makes me. I've choose my happiness over anybody else's. So of course it's hard, but it's like, even when I'm feeling overwhelmed with like whatever, like my happiness is finding nature, is doing all these things when I don't know what to choose, and I don't, my dog, like just like going on adventure, getting in the car and driving and being safe, but not having a plan and just like going somewhere, like those things are then how I connect back to myself and I'm able to listen to myself. Because I mean, you have to think too, it's like people say like you have to do self-care before you can give back to the world, whatever. It's like you have to be authentically being yourself, or like that's like the only thing people really want. I don't know. I feel like it's been obviously a really hard, long process to get here, but I never want to, and like maybe also another big part of it is like I never want to regret. Like I could be okay, and especially since my job, like I don't want to say this, but like, you know, if I died at any moment, I am truly living my life right now, and I would never want to feel like upset that I'm not like being who I'm supposed to be. I feel like that's what people are always telling you to do, is like live your life and be who you are, even though there's like, but do all these other things and fit in this box and get a house and get a kid and get a blah 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 blah. It's like, okay, well, what the hell do you mean? But you know, and I think the other thing is just like having friends and people like you who support me, and who have been able to see the magic in you, like you said, when you don't see it yourself, because I think that helps too. So like I think a huge part is, even if the people you love and might be the people who are telling you you can't and not to do things, you also can surround yourself with people who tell you that you can do these things and that they believe in you and they totally got your back. And like, yeah, knowing, and like I'm also not someone to like really take no for an answer to, like, ever, or like I'm just gonna do whatever the hell I want and like just, you know, like I'll figure it out. So
You literally have.
yeah, no, I do. Like the times you're mentioning when I like, you know, I was last year, just not even that long ago. It's like crazy. Even last year, this time, I didn't even have enough money to buy extra beads to put the Mala kits online in January. To then I went to April and making 5 times what I made in that, you know, so it's just like, you never know what's going to happen. And you've always reminded me, and you always are like, think, why do you limit yourself? Like, think a year ago, do you ever think you could be where you are now? And like, that's also, I think, a huge thing, is just like, remembering how far you've come, and like also, and remembering like you've grown that whole time you've come this far. So imagine how much you can do. Like, it's like, I mean, I think it's like so exciting and so amazing.
Oh God, it is. It really,
Yeah.
really is. So I'm gonna bring you back to Costa Rica, because that was also a very big pivotal moment in your life. I honestly feel like you traveling is always just like, if you ever need clarity or transformation, just travel.
Literally, that's what I'm about to do after we get off. I'm going to out to the desert with Rome.
There you go.
I just got all my work done. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and then we are getting out of here.
Oh man, I love it. So you go to Costa Rica, and you're going with your well, he was your boyfriend at the time. He's your ex-boyfriend currently.
Yes, he was my boyfriend at the time.
A friend of both of you guys. And you guys go to Costa Rica. And you have a great time. And you meet someone that really, really inspires you. Do you want to talk about that? And then talk about what happens when you get back to Colorado? Because I really think that would help people. I feel like we're all looking for the right time. And I constantly, when I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I literally go back to literally our conversation in that car, and I'm just like, nobody fucking knows. Just go.
Yeah, you absolutely helped me. Like, I would have held on to working full-time forever. But yeah, so I go to Costa Rica. I go to La Fortuna, which is this like beautiful tropical place with like volcanoes. And we come back into town, and I walk into this lady's shop, and she's making jewelry. And to me, like I've never really had, like, I have expanders, I have like fragment expanders, but I have never had, like, until that moment in my life, someone where I'm like, I want to live your life. Like, I want to be you. Like, so I walk in her shop, all the jewelry that's in her shop, she's made. Everything else that's in her shop, even like the journals, she knows the families that have hand pressed the paper and put the journals together. Like, she to me was like the epitome of happiness. She sells her jewelry to tourists, and like, I love collecting jewelry when I travel because it reminds me of where I am at that time. So she sells like amazing memories, and then she travels to Chile to get her lapis lazuli, to Guatemala to get her jade, and her husband was also working on jewelry out in the front. And like, so after that moment, seeing like, you can travel, you can make your own jewelry, you can have living, you can support your friends, you can be a part of your community, you can do all these things. I came home. My 100% was to work our job because it was like the best through the summer. I was for sure through the summer. I came home in May, and then I was just crying every day before my shifts. Like, even the meetings, I was just like, I would like be like running around the house like, oh my God, I have to leave in 5 minutes, and I'm just like crying. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, why am I so upset? Like, just going to a meeting. Like, so then, yeah, you and I were about to, were we going into the meeting, or did we just come out of the meeting?
We had just, no, we were going into the meeting that day, and you were like, you literally came up to me like, can we talk? And I was like, I have never seen you so like frazzled. What's going on? You're always so grounded. What the fuck? And we started talking, and she's going to tell you everything. But the one thing that I kept thinking was, why are you convincing? Who the hell are you convincing? Because she kept like, and I'm saying this because we do this all the time. We go to someone to give us like clarity or the answers, but we're literally convincing that person why we need to stay where we're at. And she was like giving me all of these reasons why she couldn't leave the current job. And I'm just like, dude.
That moment absolutely changed my life. So we're in the car, and I was super upset. And mind you, while we were working at this job, like, I'm like making jewelry in my like box on the side, and I'm still 100% doing my job. But at any moment I had, I was thinking about DarcMoon. And so
I want to make a little side note here. So I want to make this, because this is really important. We worked in sales, which means you literally get to make your paycheck. Why am I bringing this up? When you have that stability to going on to literally just waiting for things to happen on someone else's quote unquote time, that's really fucking scary. And that's where a lot of this comes from, because it was that security of, I have a consistent paycheck, I'm doing good at my job.
health insurance, all the things.
Yeah, right, all the things, yeah.
And mind you, I hadn't had health insurance for it was like great stability, doing great, whatever. Loved all the employees. That was the best thing. It's like, to me, it was the best case scenario. Everyone was my friend there. I was doing great at the job. Why am I still not happy? Like I said, people say like, once you have all these things, like, no. So whatever. I felt like I'm just wasting like my life. Like, basically, is like, to sum it up. And then you said to me like, okay, well, if it wasn't money, then like, what's stopping you from leaving? And I'm like, crickets. Like, I don't know. Money is literally the only reason I wouldn't quit right now. And you're like, then what are you waiting for? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna put my 2 weeks in on Monday. You're like, no, you're gonna do it right now. I was like, all right, do it right now. And I did it. And then I just went and did it. And that was the best moment of my life. And like, yeah, absolutely. And the best moment is because like, you have to play out like, I mean, in that moment, what was the worst thing that could have happened? And like, the best thing was like, everyone supported me. My boss is super understanding. They had all known like the whole time, because I was very transparent with them. I'm going to do my job and I will be great at it, but I'm doing this to do something else. So yeah, that moment absolutely changed my life. And then it definitely has not been easy from there. Like I said, like, just, yeah, I could go into many things, but it has not been easy, but here we are. And have just come off having like the best like year of my career so far. So
I'm going to just bring this up so that people get a kind of more of a timeline. This was less than 3 years ago when she decided to quit. And I'm going to kind of just pop in a little things. She quits, moves into her parents' house, I think like a month after. She's there. She's dating someone and decides that she wants to move now. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because literally when she's about to move, like everything's waiting to happen, and she crashes his car. Why is it
on the way to signing the lease for the new house in a town 4 hours away?
Yeah, so this is like really big because she's questioning everything and she crashes the car. She's freaking out. And I'm just like, and calls me and like, this is a girl, and I'm saying this, not someone, double Aries, guys. Being in her emotions is not one of those things where she's like, oh my God, I love being in my emotions. I am one that I'm like, yes, I'm crying, but I love it. Like, that's me. She is not going to be the one that's like crying happy about it. She's like, oh my God, I'm crying. Why am I crying? So she calls me freaking the fuck out. And I'm like, you're getting tested up and down right now. Like, you just made all of these things. So I'm continuing on with this. I'm not going to get too deep into this because it's your very personal journey. But she wasn't in her authentic when she was in this relationship at all. And when I tell you that literally she was going against the current, she was going against the current. I went to visit her last year, and she was like showing me how she would ride her bike or walk and take like 2 buses to do all of this. And as I'm listening, I'm like, why the fuck was she making life hard for her? Because she wanted to make the relationship work. And money and love are so, 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 so tied in. Last year, when she finally decided to leave and she came back to Colorado, which she did not want to do, that was a very big surrendering moment for you, because you had to almost kind of come clean with everything you had been hiding from everyone. And I'm like looking at you like, please don't hate me for what I'm saying right now. But it was you're very good at keeping what you tell people and what's actually going on very, like, you keep that very to yourself. If you're struggling, not a lot of people know. And if they know, they don't know the entire picture. You're very protective of that. And I feel like for when you did come back and you moved in with your parents and you were there in this very like uncertain time with everything that was going on, it was a moment of surrender, but you literally grew so much in that period.
Yeah. It was like a straight rock bottom for sure.
So hit rock bottom.
Yep.
Literally made you realign with who you were.
Yes.
And then less than 3 months later, you moved back to Grand Junction.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically like the timeline was, yeah, hit rock bottom, like basically everything you can imagine, like relationship fell apart, wasn't living in the house anymore, had to move back with my parents. I had just had 2 months of not really having that many sales in January and February. I just was super not in my authentic self, had no clue what to do. Then COVID hits. But thankfully, and thankfully I have a family that does support me, and they allowed me to like stay there. And that is what I think, like you said, when I surrendered, everything came together. And then you know, like I can't even, like the past year has like been insane, like the past after since then, since March.
Literally the growth, it's just, I sometimes double take that we were literally trying to think, and I'm like, oh my God, it was 2 Mays ago that you did this. Like, I feel like it was like 6 years ago. I don't know, that it just seems like way more. What was going through your mind? And I really want to make an emphasis on this because we all go through this. It doesn't matter. We're literally facing as a collective this unknown with what's going on. And I will say, like, I was like, don't you want to go on a hike? And she's like, no, I'm being by myself, leave me alone. But
Mike, yeah.
no, literally. And it's just like, that's when I'm like, you're really protective of your boundaries. But how did you deal with all of that? Because you could have easily, and we've talked about this, you never gave up on your vision that DarcMoon was going to do something. And I know that constantly you were like, should I get another job? Like, should I just do this? How did you stay true to your vision when everything is literally falling apart in your own personal life? And then externally, everything's falling apart. So you're just like, what the fuck?
I think doing Lacey's work, really doing To Be Magnetic, like daily, like doing Inner Child helped me reprogram a lot of things. I think, yeah, like, I think also it's like you really have to believe in what you're doing. And when I saw like how upset people were at home and they just like really needed something creative to do, like, and how just like something so simple, like it really made me see like the value of what I'm doing and what my business is and what I do. And I think once you have like all of those, when you truly believe in what you're doing, like that kind of, I don't know, like it's like I always knew, like you said, like I've never had a question like if DarcMoon was gonna work. It was like it's gonna work, but like am I gonna have to get another job support? It's never was like, am I gonna not do this? And I think it is just, I'm very grateful too for having people who do support me and who have literally anyone who's ever done anything to support DarcMoon in any way. That's what's kept me going too, you know?
I'm laughing right now because I love that you give credit to everyone. You always do. Anytime that I'm like, you're killing it, you somehow find a way to give credit to other people. So I'm laughing about that. But no, I, that's you to literally the core. You are such, I'm trying to like find a way to like say this. You, to me, are this like magic light, honestly, because you truly, when you see people, and she's an incredible person, she has a great business overall, like it's all amazing. What do you, this is, and you're gonna laugh at this, when I realized, holy shit, this girl is gonna change the world, was last year when you were doing a workshop. Wait, no, it was the event where the girl, where she was setting up in that new house. You know which one I'm talking about. It was here in Denver. I think it was like one of your last shows here.
The one outside?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. It was a show outside. There's this homeless man that's walking around and like causing a racket. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, and everyone's like fucking staring. And she goes up to him and just starts talking to this guy. Now, this isn't the first time I've seen this. I have literally seen her do this countless times. And that's when I truly realized you are not just a human. Like, you are literally the spirit just bringing light to people. And the message that you have of healing, like, it goes above the malas. It goes above DarcMoon. And I'm not trying to take away from DarcMoon, but it's just you you have this ability to see past the surface. You have this ability to just kind of look within to people. And I think that's truly a gift, because you can't learn that. You can't teach that to someone. It's just part of you. It's just in you. And you always see the beauty in life. And I think that's such a gift, when we're so focused often on how everything can go bad and how things can just derail us. I think that that's probably what helps you stay with never giving up on DarcMoon and the vision you have, because you are able to see past kind of that initial darkness. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have you on. We all have so many things going on, and it can be COVID, it can be the pandemic, it can be whatever it is, you know, losing your job, losing a loved one, relationships. There's so much going on. But you are someone that every time that I think about it, I'm like, you don't fall down. And even if you do, it's like you get yourself back up, and you don't view the falling down as a setback. You view it as, oh no, I needed to fall down because there was something I needed to learn here. And that's just something I'm just so in awe with, honestly. Like, you don't meet a lot of people like that. I think we all try to kind of put that on, but it just comes natural to you. So thank you for sharing your light with the world, literally.
You're amazing, and I love you. That was
I
so
love you
kind.
too. I love
And
you.
yeah, I think the last thing to say is, like, I think what has always, like, just kept me going is just, like, knowing that my purpose on this planet, like, this time is, like, bigger than myself.
So before we end, I do want to, I talk about, I've been talking a lot about my japa meditation, and I always reference to your malas when I talk about them. So tell people a little bit about, like, give a little short kind of what malas are, how they can be incorporated, because you were the one that actually got me into even incorporating into my meditation practice. When I went to visit, you were like, let's meditate. I'm like, okay, all right, let's meditate. But yeah, like how that has played a role in kind of going in deeper, because I do know that, and this is something I haven't vocalized to you, but I have seen a shift. Before, you were very much looking for like the outside to guide you, and now you don't. Like, when I saw you for Christmas, I was just like, who the fuck is this girl? Like, what the hell? Like, you don't see someone for this long and this is what happens? Like, no, you were just so centered and calm, and genuinely, like, I felt like you were at home with you, not grasping for people to give you answers and clarity. And we all do that in times of like uncertainty.
Totally. Well, thank you. And I'll try to start quickly at the beginning, just kind of like briefly, like, a mala is really just made thousands of years ago, and that's what I love about it, is the ancient history of the number of beads on it. But it's really just a tool for meditation. I know that can sound like intimidating to people, things like that, but it's literally just like, when you feel like my mind is wandering all the time, I don't know how to shut off, I don't know how to sit with myself, it's just something that you use as guidance in your hand. I also love it because all of the gemstones have different properties. It can be that intentional if you're working on a different part of your chakras, your body, something like that. And then all the malas I make are going to be on a double strand and hand knotted. So there's about 115 knots in every necklace. And then, which are all done by me. And then when I use it to meditate, I set my intention every morning. It's the first thing I do every single morning. I've now, since doing the meditation challenge last year, done it for over 200 days. But I just the way I start my morning is every morning is I journal about how I want my day to go in just a couple sentences. I pull a card, I read the description of the card, and then I set my intention for the day off of those two things in one line. And then I take my mala, and then I just pull around. You don't want to touch anytime you meditate, you don't want to touch your mala with your pointer finger. This is your ego. And then you just pull it towards you. And then you can obviously wear it. But I love the fact, I mean, of course people love it too because it has like the weight for when the gemstones, it's just like another way to carry gemstones as well. But yeah, and also gemstones collect memories. So that's what I think is also really beautiful is like when you get your mala, and that's what a mala really is to me too, is an intention reminder. So before the mala is made, I'll put the intention into it of how it's made. When you get the mala, you'll set the intention of what you're seeking in your life right now. And every time you look back at that piece is a reminder of your intention. So it's like comes full circle into reminding you who you want to become and like who you are. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
So yeah, I think has many purposes, and that's what I love about it is that there's history, there's meaning, there's the earth, there's science, there's so many different aspects that are put into it that I think is so cool.
I will be tagging Instagram, Facebook, and your website in the description so people can definitely find you and purchase an incredible mala. So this is a little plug-in from me, not getting paid, not getting anything. Truly, I have paid for my malas. I am saying that.
Never let me give her discounts.
Literally, I get so mad when she wants to give me a discount. I'm like, I doubt that if some stranger walked by, you'd be like, let me give it to you for 50 or 20% off. But
that's a good friend.
That's a good friend. No, that's just really, really, I really learned a lot, honestly, when she went off and started working on her own, because I started to look at people differently every single time I saw a vendor. I realized what I buy from you, I'm literally putting it in your wallet for you to pay for you to live. So that's why for me, it was such a big thing. Like, no, you worked for this. Let me give you that back. But little plug from me, you can look up. She has like crazy, amazing designs. I will say none of my malas are custom made. I went to one of her shows and I was like, this is mine. Literally, I was like, this is mine. And then she posted the other one. I'm like, I want that one. Don't sell it. But she has incredible, incredible designs. They like the amount of thought that goes behind them. As someone that has seen the creation process, like she puts so much love into it. And it's amazing when you're like hiking with Lynnea and random. She's like, don't these look like great colors for a mala? And I'm like, didn't see that, but okay, yeah, sure. Like, yeah. And then you see them all and you're like, yes, that is that. So definitely if you're looking for something to enhance your meditation practice, if you do want to carry something around, I have started to bless my mala and I wear it with me when I leave the house. And it kind of reminds me to ground myself back into that. So little plug-in, definitely check out DarcMoon.com, at DarcMoon on Instagram, on Facebook. Really, really badass stuff. She has chokers, bracelets, keychains. I'm like trying to think of anything else that and then I'm gonna throw this in. I don't know how much you're gonna want to elaborate on it. As someone, and this is me jumping out of the closet right now and sharing this with you guys. I might actually, you know what? Okay. So I am a huge fan of plant medicine, and I love journeys. And I have been feeling called by shrooms, but never felt like I was in a safe place to explore. So when I go visit my incredible friend last year, we ended up going to Moab. Saw my first spirit. I can hear them, but I don't always see them. And I saw my first spirit, and it was actually has nothing to do with me, totally her. And she starts to kind of starts thinking about all these things that she wants to do. And I'm like, hey, would you be down to like just be my guide? And I took some shrooms. And I probably didn't realize at the time how much of an impact it made. But I can say that for a few months after, my heart was just like open all the time. And my third eye was just like all the time. So fast forward, this incredible human now has another venture that she's going on into, and that is the healing house, where she is creating safe space for people to explore different modalities and healing techniques. That's my way of saying plant medicine. But I would really, really recommend it. I'm someone that's very conscious of recommending something like that. It's such a personal thing. And I think that you need to have a very strong nervous system to provide that type of space, because as we both know, you don't guide plant medicine guides you. So you have to be ready to just witness whatever. I don't trust easily. I say this, I told her that, like, for me to let my guard down and just kind of be like, yeah, whatever, it's not something that I'm like, I like think I'm too heady of a person, but it felt right. And I am constantly telling people whenever they're like, I want to experiment with plant medicine, hit her up. She has a really great soul and a really great space. So what would you want to share if people are interested in kind of exploring more? I am going to make a side note. She is not in Denver, guys. She is in Grand Junction, Colorado.
Yes.
So you can't like just pretend I'm in Denver, I'm going to hit her up. No.
Yeah, you come to me, but that's the most beautiful part of the experience. For me, like, the healing house is a space I've created for you to learn more, a safe space. And by saying that, that means a lot to me, because where I grew up and as a child, my space was not a safe space. It also is not a safe space to be yourself or to feel whatever you wanted to feel. Also, I just feel like my whole journey, it's like, oh, you want to look at tarot cards? You must be a witch. Oh, you like this? You must be this. Like, it's always trying to put people into all of these categories. So it's really me sharing with you and on your personal journey, lots of different facets of things for you to learn more about yourself. So that could be things incorporating plant medicine, lamb connection, mala making, learning about chakras, learning about herbs. It's going to be specifically based upon to where you are in your astrological chart and what you're trying to get out of it. It's also not just an experience where, like, I see you and then we never see each other again, because that can be a lot for people to feel like they've gone through something and then they have no one there to support them. So it's also something that, like, I will check up with you afterwards. We'll keep in contact. Like, I'm going to give you feedback about what I think about you while you're here. It's meant to be more than just, I'm going to spend some money and say I'm treating myself for a day and then move on. It's an actual experience where you're learning tools, and you are trying to understand yourself more. It also could be with things like past life regression sorts of things, your spirit guides. Artistically, it really is so different depending on who it's going to be for. If you haven't been to Grand Junction, to me it is, and as you see, I have this little Thunderbird necklace. The Thunderbird on the Grand Mesa and Grand Junction is what brought me here. The reason why I'm in Grand Junction is I'm here to do what I'm doing, to spread what I'm doing, but also because energetically there's a lot of healing that needs to be done on this land. So there's like lots of different facets as to why this is a good space for you to do your healing and why I can connect with you here. But it's really just a very personalized and one of a kind experience. Like I would basically, to sum it up, that is personal to you, and making you feel comfortable and safe and giving you tools. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Romy is not with us anymore, so I will say bye to him energetically as him and I, hey boo, always connect on a deep level. Hey boo, what's up? As always with you, my wonderful friend, it was such a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for sharing a part of your soul with us, because I truly believe every time we connect, there's an exchange there.
Always. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Well, guys, it was so much fun chatting with you guys and having you join us on this wonderful talk. I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.